Try to imagine a sum that the brain refuses to comprehend. Not a million, not a billion, but a whole $1 trillion. For the Saudi royal family, this is not a theoretical figure from a reference book, but a very real estimate of their total wealth. For us, their life looks like an expensive movie with no budget limits. Palaces where ceilings cost more than apartments. Yachts that feed more guests than a good hotel. Airplanes resembling flying residences. Today, we will look inside this world, not to admire or condemn, but to calmly and thoroughly understand how a poor desert country became a superpower. Which palaces and castles belong to the Saudis, how their yachts differ from ordinary ships, and why their investments are felt all over the world, from football to high technology.
Luxury life.
How a poor desert turned into an oil giant. If you rewind history, today's luxury seems almost incredible. In 1932, a new state emerges, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Its creator, Ibn Saud, unites tribes and territories under the rule of one clan, the House of Saud. Formally, the king answers only to religious law and the Quran, but in essence, he holds all power in his hands. Yet the country itself in those years, poor, harsh, and very far from today's skyscrapers. The economy relied on pilgrims who came to the holy cities, and on agriculture. Locals did not live in palaces and business jets, but with hard labor and heat. The turning point came in 1938 when they found oil in the ground. This discovery was followed by agreements with the Americans, joint projects, the first drilling rigs, the first serious infrastructure. Thus was born the future giant, Saudi Aramco. At first, the keys to the business were in American hands, then they increasingly passed to the state, and along with this, slowly but steadily, the wealth and influence of the royal family grew. A few decades later, Saudi Arabia is no longer a poor periphery, but one of the most influential players in the oil market. Today, it is the only Arab country in the G20, officially a high-income player in the rankings of international organizations. But to understand how the people who manage this wealth live, the dry figure of $1 trillion alone is not enough. Let's look at what it turns into in real life. Moraba, the palace where the first capital still lingers. To begin, not about gold and marble, but about history. The Moraba Palace in Riyadh was built in the 1930s and completed in 1945 for the founder of the country, King Abdulaziz. Compared to it, many modern residences look like new builds. Moraba truly resembles the old capital, not a designer project. From the outside, it is a whole complex. Several buildings, inner courtyards, closed passageways. Rooms are arranged around large rectangular courtyards. This was the traditional way to protect the family's private life from prying eyes. The walls are made of a mixture of clay and straw. Ceilings rest on trunks of acacia and palm trees. Classic Najdi style, born from the local climate and culture, not from catalogs of elite finishes. Today, Moraba has been turned into a museum. Here they display personal belongings of the first rulers, old carved doors, carpets with Arabic inscriptions, elements of decor that still carry the spirit of that Saudi Arabia which lived before the oil era. It was here that they held spectacular receptions for foreign leaders. In 2008, George W. Bush watched a traditional sword dance in the palace hall. In 2017, also to the clang of sabers and music, they received Donald Trump. It's a museum, yet it feels as if the walls still remember the negotiations and decisions on which the fates of the region depended. Alyama, the palace where decisions worth billions are made. If Moraba is a look back, then Alyama is the face of today's power. Here, the king and the crown prince hold official meetings, receive heads of state, discuss major deals and internal reforms. The palace stands in the capital, Riyadh, and resembles more a separate city behind walls. A vast territory, even green lawns in the middle of the desert, intricate arabesque ornaments on the gates and facades. Little is known about the interior layout, the family guards their personal space extremely jealously. But those rare images that did reach the press speak for themselves. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling paneling, heavy carpets, carved ceilings, massive chandeliers, gilded doors. Receptions are held in the spacious halls. Quiet negotiations are conducted in the more intimate rooms. Alyama is simultaneously a home, an office, and a symbol of power. Behind these walls, it is decided where the petrodollars will flow and what the kingdom will look like in 10, 20, 30 years. Backup residences, when Plan B looks like a fairy tale. Any monarchy thinks about security, the Saudi one even more so. When the main palace becomes a symbol, alternatives are needed in case of unforeseen situations. Thus, other residences appear: the Al Auja Palace near Riyadh, the Erga Palace closer to the city center. For an ordinary person, these would be dream country houses, but for the royal family, just other points on the map to which they can quickly relocate in case of risk or to hold a separate event. The level of luxury, security, and amenities there is in no way inferior. Negotiation halls, quarters for numerous relatives, places for receptions. Everything is thought out so that, with any change of scenery, the work of power continues without pause. The most expensive house in the world near Paris. In 2015, European newspapers vied with each other to report on one deal. Near Paris, the Chateau Louis XIV was sold for a sum of around $300 million. It was recognized as one of the most expensive transactions in the residential real estate market. For a long time, no one named the owner. Only later did it become clear that behind the purchase was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The castle was built in the style of the French kings, but with modern comfort. Its creation took several years of work by hundreds of craftsmen, architects, stonemasons, artists, decorators. At the entrance, a statue of Louis XIV in white marble greets guests. In the park, gilded fountains play. Geometric avenues lead to labyrinths. All around, perfect lawns and trimmed trees. Inside, a play of antique style and ultra-modern technology. Marble surfaces, ceiling paintings, silk draperies coexist with smart lighting systems, automatic shutters, and climate control that can be managed literally from a phone. Hidden in the underground levels are a cinema hall, a nightclub, wine cellars, and a swimming pool. In one hall, the ceiling is transformed into the illusion of a celestial garden. Artists recreated motifs from ancient frescoes so that the castle would appear as if it had stood for centuries. And all this just one of the residences of a man who simultaneously leads reforms in a vast oil power. The Palace of Light in America, Saudi-style student living. Another notable story unfolds in the United States. In the state of Virginia stands a mansion with the telling name La Chateau de Lumière, the Palace of Light. Its owner became Khalid bin Salman, brother of the Crown Prince and future ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Washington. A particular contrast is created by the fact that at the time of purchase for $12 million, he was registered as a student at Georgetown University. But student life, in this case, means several master bedrooms, each looking like a room in a five-star hotel, a dozen bathrooms, ballrooms, several large living rooms. In the interiors, antique furniture, gilded decorative elements, heavy chandeliers, fireplaces. Below, its own spa complex, massage rooms, wine cellar, gym, home cinema, game rooms. In the courtyard, a marble-finished pool, columns, a fire pit area with upholstered furniture. For someone, this is a dream home. For him, a convenient residence close to his place of study and work. Castles and palaces of the prince investor. When talking about the combination of luxury and business, sooner or later the conversation turns to Prince Alwaleed bin Talal. He is known not only as a billionaire and investor, but also as a man for whom home is an international concept. In Riyadh, he has a huge palace that resembles a resort more than anything else. They speak of hundreds of rooms, marble floors, carpets that can be regarded as works of art, and large swimming pools. One of them is designed so that you feel not in the city, but in the middle of a green lagoon. Rocks, plants, water, everything creates the sensation of a natural oasis. The palace kitchen is capable of feeding thousands of guests, and underground, like in a good cinema, there is a hall with soft armchairs and a large screen. The most controversial detail, a collection of stuffed rare animals from hunting, lions, zebras, and other predators, frozen in eternal poses. In Europe, the same prince owns an ancient castle, Castagneto Po, not far from Turin. Once, Carla Bruni, the future First Lady of France, spent her childhood there. The Bruni family invested effort and money into restoration. They restored frescoes, laid artistic parquet, tidied up the park. Now the castle, surrounded by dozens of hectares of greenery, belongs to the Saudi prince. Inside, ancient paintings, carefully integrated elevators, and modern engineering systems to ensure life in such a house remains comfortable and doesn't turn into a museum quest. Super yachts, when home changes address with the sea. Let's move from land to water. For some members of the royal family, a yacht is not just a way to get from point A to point B, but another form of residence. One of the most famous is the yacht Prince Abdulaziz, built in the 1980s. In its time, it was considered one of the largest in the world. It was ordered by King Fahd and named after his son. This yacht is like a floating hotel. On board are dozens of guests and almost as many crew members. Here you find spacious salons, lounges, areas for informal meetings. Maintaining such a colossal vessel in perfect condition costs tens of millions of dollars a year, but for the royal family, it is a routine expense. Another famous story involves the yacht today known as Kingdom 5KR. Its journey resembles the biography of a series character. Initially, the vessel belonged to arms magnate Adnan Khashoggi, then passed to the Sultan of Brunei, then ended up with Donald Trump, and from him went to Prince Alwaleed. The name decodes in a familial way. Kingdom, from the name of his holding company, the number 5, his favorite number, the letters KR, his children's initials. On board, everything befitting a yacht of this level. Relaxation areas, a swimming pool, a helipad, cabins, and salons. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also did not go without his own fleet. One of his yachts, Pegasus 8, was built in Northern Europe and adorned with interiors from famous design studios. It can accommodate a small company of guests and an entire service team, but his purchase of the super yacht Serene is especially discussed. Previously, this vessel could be found in lists of the world's largest yachts, and one of the most famous stories is its charter by Bill Gates. Later, the vessel came into the possession of the Crown Prince. Inside, a spa area, swimming pools, helipads, salons, offices, guest suites. For an ordinary person, this is a luxury cruise. For the owner, it is another version of a home, only now the horizon constantly moves. A private plane as a flying palace. In the 21st century, time is indeed often more valuable than money, and for the royal family, even more so. But even against this backdrop, some aviation projects stand out. Most of the talk surrounded the plans of Prince Alwaleed to turn a huge Airbus A380 into a personal aircraft. This airliner is originally intended to carry hundreds of passengers, but the project discussed something entirely different: a garage for a car, a concert hall, separate apartments, a bathhouse, meeting rooms, prayer areas, and also a room with a transparent floor to look down during the flight as if watching a movie. At some point, it became clear that the project would not be realized. The reasons were never fully clarified. There was talk of financial difficulties, and also that maintaining such an aircraft for personal flights was too complex and than expensive. In any case, this flying palace remained a beautiful picture on paper. But even without it, the royal family's arsenal is impressive. They have several private jets at their disposal, from relatively compact to large aircraft with separate bedrooms, showers, offices, and meeting rooms. Sometimes the cabin of such planes resembles the interior of a palace more than a conventional airplane cabin. Golden garages and supercars. After palaces, yachts, and planes, it might seem that cars no longer surprise. But just a glance at the garages of some princes, and it becomes clear that even here there is room to stand out. One representative of the family became famous for his golden fleet. Sports Lamborghinis, massive SUVs, luxurious Rolls Royces, many of them are covered in a golden film. In the sun, these cars turn into moving mirrors, difficult to look away from. Some of these automobiles are often seen not in Saudi Arabia, but, for example, on the streets of London. The prince simply transports his fleet along with him. There, photographs also appeared showing a live cheetah peeking out from a car window, comfortably settled inside. Another prince became known for collecting the rarest hypercars. His collection includes unique versions of Bugatti, limited series of Ferrari and Aston Martin. Some cars exist literally in just a few examples worldwide, and each one costs as much as a decent hotel. For some, this is the challenge. For others, a childhood dream realized in adulthood at the maximum level. The record-breaking painting and the controversy surrounding it. The luxury of the Saudi elite is not only about technology and real estate, but also about art. The most sensational purchase of recent years was the painting Salvator Mundi, associated with the name of Leonardo da Vinci. In 2017, it was sold at auction for approximately $450 million. This was a record for art. The buyer's name was kept secret for a long time, but later numerous publications linked the painting to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. According to some reports, the canvas was for some time on board that very super yacht Serene. The painting sparked a storm of debate. Some experts are convinced that Leonardo's workshop worked on it, and the artist himself only refined certain fragments. Others believe it is a full-fledged work by the master and call the painting the male Mona Lisa. The press even discussed that the Saudi side allegedly sought to exhibit the painting alongside the Gioconda in the Louvre as an equivalent masterpiece.
How accurate these stories are is difficult to say, but one thing is obvious. It is not just about a purchase, but about a symbol of status and influence. Saudi Aramco, the machine that turns the whole world. Behind all these stories is a simple fact. A trillion does not appear out of nowhere by itself. The main source of wealth is the company Saudi Aramco. This is not just an oil firm, but a vast system that manages the extraction, refining, transportation, and sale of oil and gas. At its disposal are the largest fields, extensive infrastructure networks, plants, and ports. Annually, gigantic volumes of raw materials pass through this machine, and its decisions affect not only the welfare of Saudi Arabia, but also gasoline prices in many countries. Over time, a whole world has grown around Aramco. Processing divisions, chemical plants, logistics. The state transferred part of the company's shares to the management of the Public Investment Fund, the very fund that invests money in various sectors all over the world. The state fund that builds, not only returns, but also image. The Public Investment Fund, or PIF for short, is one of the most active and wealthiest sovereign wealth funds in the world. Its task is simple and at the same time extremely ambitious: to transform today's oil revenues into a diverse range of assets that will generate money even when oil ceases to be the main resource. The fund invests in companies worldwide, from technology giants to energy energy and entertainment. Through it, Saudi Arabia buys stakes in car manufacturers, IT companies, coffee shop chains, oil and gas corporations. Some investments are particularly visible in the field of sports. Thus, through PIF, the English football club Newcastle United was bought, and a new tournament, Live Golf, appeared in the world of golf with prize sums that sharply stand out against the competition. In parallel, the fund finances the NEOM project. Conceived as a city of the future without conventional streets, traffic jams, or emissions. It is a gigantic construction site in the middle of the desert where they plan to create a high-tech zone with green energy, new forms of transport, and housing. Some see this as a far-sighted strategy, others as an attempt to improve the image. But in any case, PIF has already become a player that must be reckoned with on the world stage. Criticism, controversy, and two sides of the same coin. Alongside wealth always comes the flip side. The Saudi government and royal family are regularly criticized by human rights organizations and some politicians. They are accused of human rights violations, harsh treatment of the opposition, and attempts to improve their reputation through sports and high-profile investments. The murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi caused a wide resonance around the world. After this story, many began to look more closely at what the kingdom does inside and outside its borders. The Saudi authorities reject the most radical accusations and, at the same time, continue to pursue an active investment policy. The result is an ambiguous picture. On one hand, reforms, major projects, a drive for modernization. On the other, questions about the transparency of decisions and the price at which all this is achieved. Everyone has their own set of answers to these questions, but ignoring them is no longer possible. An empire still on its way. We started with a poor desert, where the main wealth was caravans and pilgrims, and arrived at a state whose assets include oil, giant companies, football clubs, future cities, and art collections. The Saudi royal family lives in a reality where a flight on a private jet is a business trip, a week on a super yacht is a way to combine leisure and negotiations, a castle in France or Italy is just another address in the address book. Some see this as excessive luxury, others as the logical result of controlling a key resource of the planet, and some as both simultaneously. One thing is obvious. While we watch this world from the sidelines, the Saudis themselves continue to reshape their empire, balancing between the traditions of the desert, the gleam of palaces, and the ambition to build a technological future. And the question of whether they will succeed in turning their oil trillion into a sustainable model for decades to come remains open. And it is precisely for this reason that this story is so interesting to observe. Be sure to write your opinion in the comments, and see you in the next episode on the channel for The Richest. Hear about wealth, luxury, and the lives of the most influential people on the planet. Thank you for watching, and check out the previous videos that have appeared on your screen.